Good morning, friends, and welcome to our session on understanding e-procurement. Now, before I proceed, just few housekeeping issues around. First, if you have any, this session will be of 60 minutes, followed by Q&A. So my request to you would be, please put down all your questions side by side when you're listening to me. If you can raise the hand, that also we'll try to answer one by one also that way. So please write down all your questions through the chat mode now. Friends, as you know, in today's journey, what we will do is, before I really go into the depth of e-procurement, I'd like to explain few terms around. The terms are like e-commerce, e-business, e-procurement. So everything is E. The word E is E-enabled basically. Electronic, E stands for electronic enabled. And the core of all E is internet. As you see, the internet since the mid of 90s, when internet was started around in a commercial way, it has transformed the whole business process. It has made the business in a totally different modalities. It has automated the business process around. And it has not left the business, e-commerce, then the whole thing has come up to procurement as well. When we talk of procurement, procurement is a process. So process has got many activities around, like receiving the needs part, the requisition part. Then I have to do the solicitation part. Then I have to identify the suppliers part. And at the end of the chain, I have to make payments. So all those activities have been converted into e-form, e-sourcing, e-requisitions, e-payments. The whole chain becomes e-procurement. Now, well, with these friends, let me move to the next one now. So today's agenda, as you can see on the slide, firstly, we're talking about what is e-commerce, e-business, e-procurements. Some people may be thinking, why invest in this? As you know, the finance people will first ask you, okay, how much is it going to cost you to implement e-procurement? What are the return on investments? Are we just joining the buzzword? Are we going to get some investment return as well? Identify your needs. So my request to you would be also, when we come to the subject on this, you have to identify your needs. What are you looking for? E-procurement is end-to-end. Does it start from requisition, goes up to payments? Or it is only requisitions? Does it include e-sourcing? Does it include e-auctions? So one has to really define what are your needs. The next thing is right e-procurement solution. There are many choices available in the market, identifying the right one. The next thing is implementing e-procurement initiative. You have the ideas, you're young enough, you want to bring e-procurement in your system, but how do I implement it? And lastly, but not the least, is the best practices part. So the best practices, in that would be and then the lastly, I would say objective is uncover insights into diffusion of procurement innovation. If I look back all the innovations in procurement, to me, e-procurement is the biggest innovation in the procurement field. Same thing I'm putting up as an overview of presentations. You can see in the slide, there are suppliers, there are buyers, and in the center is internet. To me, the internet is the core of all this thing around. That's a backbone. So when we talk of e-procurement, internet is the backbone of this around. So as you can see, we're going to talk about understanding e-procurement and become familiar with e-procurement tools. Which are e-procurement tools? Assess your e-procurement needs around. Develop e-procurement strategy. And then the next one we're talking about select the right procurement solution. And but last not the least is e-procurement initiative, how do I implement? So as I said to you in the beginning, I want to clarify to you e-commerce, e-business, and e-procurement. Let me clarify the terms around. E-commerce, as is a very big word nowadays in India and many countries around. So e-commerce is nothing but doing electronic buying, marketing, selling, and even payments. Even the fund transfer is also e-commerce. So any activity we are doing around in a small way is all e-commerce. Buying online, selling online. It could be, as you have seen around, eBay is there around, Ola is there. Many things have come up as a part of e-commerce around. But the business is a bigger term, is a holistic term. So we're using the electronic informations to improve the performance, create the values, and that's what we're calling as e-business. So e-business is to me a holistic picture. E-commerce is the one which we're using electronic tools to do the electronic buying, electronic marketing, electronic selling, even transfer of funds also is e-commerce around. So they are the part of the e-commerce. So same thing I have put up in this one again. So e-commerce is the buying and selling of the goods, or the transmitting of the funds, as I told you in the beginning, or data even also, over an electronic network, primarily the internet. So primarily the internet, although there are many other means around. Before internet we had EDI, electronic data interchange. So we had that concepts available also. Still many companies are using around. Now e-business, as I said to you in the beginning, is the application of ICT in support of all activities of the business. So business is encompassing many functions. So in those functions you are encompassing using the ICT technologies. That's to me is e-business. As I said to you, we use electronic technology, could be internet, could be extranet, could be intranet, could be website, which all of you are conversant. So the website is any computers on the network running on the www server. So if I'm using World Wide Web server, that's a website around. And there are protocols also. When you're transferring the data from one computer to another computers, particularly in the EDI, electronic data interchange, there are protocols around. How the information will go. Some protocol of securities are there around. So those protocols are there around. This is how a typical e-commerce, because we are using the e-commerce tools for e-procurement. So I just want to explain you around. So you have a computers on the client side, there's an internet, there's a firewall, because you want to protect the hackers and all those things around. So there's a firewall. And on the server side, I have my web servers, I have application server, I have database around. So this is a typical e-commerce systems around, and same tools, same concepts we're going to use in the e-procurement as well. Let me again clarify, internet is nothing but the collection of computers. So many computers, they are able to speak to each other with a common language that you could call as a protocol is internet. Then comes the intranet. Intranet is private version of the internet. So that's basically the private version of that around. And the main purpose of intranet is to share the information within the company. It's a basically private network. Extranet is private network that users outside the company can also access. So that's what we call extranet. Web, as already I have told you what it means around. Now once you got the concept of e-commerce, e-business, and a little bit about the definition of internet, now let's move into the procurement. So the procurement is nothing the process. It's a process of sourcing products and services from point of supply to the point of demand. So one side you have a customer, that's the point of demand, and one side is the supplier. It could be supplier, supplier, it could be customer, customer. So that chain which we call nowadays the supply chain itself. So you're basically doing the sourcing of products and services from point of supply to the point of demand. This is what we are traditional procurement. I know many of us, you can see around, this is what we are struggling around. We have the phones, we have the pile of files. So one side is an in tray, one side is an out tray. So that's what we are typically one telephone, fax, and the fax is going away in many companies. The big company don't see the fax around. In small companies, you still find fax. Paper catalog, so you look at the catalog, find the prices, place the order now. That's a traditional procurement tools now. And this is the typical, again, the process, how much it goes through. Let me again, I'm sure you all know it around, but let me also walk through with you how many steps of this you have to walk through it. First thing is specify the requirements. Obviously, once it is done, you're checking the price. You're also checking the availability of it, this item is available or not. Then you're trying to create the requisitions. And then comes the requisition is approved by someone. Obtain offers from the suppliers around. Evaluate the offers around. Select the suppliers. Make the purchase orders. Approve the purchase orders. Send the PO to the vendors. Check order status. But what happens with this? Receive the shipments around. Review the invoice. Process exception. If there are any exceptions. You might have asked for 20 pieces, the guy has sent you 18, or some parts are missing around. Approve the payments, send the payments, and the last is, if you want to return the goods around, by the time the guy is totally tired around, you can see in the picture. So the person is now is tired, he has to again send the goods back, and the whole chain starts again. That's a typical procurement process around. Since I come from this profession, I would say it's a very labor intensive. This is why you will find most of the procurement people, they are the one who are working late hours. They're working very hard compared to other professions. Now certainly this is where the E-world helps us to make our life much better. Now we are moving from E-procurement, from manual to E-procurement, and that's what is helping us. So E-procurement manual is, you can see around, I'm obtaining the offers from suppliers, starting from the creating a requisition, everything is done centrally. And the steps are there, but those steps have been E-enabled. I'm using the automations part of it, so that's how it is helping me out. Now when it comes to E-procurement, how this concept started around, two things have played a key role. First thing is the technology part. Second is the people part. People also have to become friendly with the computers. People have to be friendly with the process. So the combination of the two, we have to train the people as well. It's a combination of people and technology. That's what we call as E-procurement success. So E-procurement success does not come with only one thing. It's a combination of the right technology, right people. That's what you get the success about. Now, when we talk of E-procurement journey, in a very broad sense, it has been there for many years. While it was in a very low form, the word E-word has come in only after IBM coined the idea around in the 90s. But before that also, E was there. We were using the emails, you know it very well. And later, maybe I can show you in the next slides around, we had the traditional procurement, so we had the later on electronic system to support it. And those were, we were sending emails around, we were having EDIs, electronic data interchange. I remember when I worked with UN EDIFACT in Geneva, so we had to develop the standards. How do we transfer the data? I have to send my purchase order to a client. The client speaks Japanese and I speak English. How do I transfer the data? How do I transfer my purchase order? How do I transfer my payment invoice around? While the two countries speak different languages. So automatically by protocol, the purchase order gets converted into another language around. So this is the concept was there, and that was very costly. Many companies were using it. They had their own virtual private network, and on the VPN they were using the EDI concepts around of transferring the data. But those are very high cost around. But the moment internet came around in 90s, with the coming of internet, E-procurement terminology was coined. So this is where I'm trying to show you around. E-procurement has been, the word E has been, whether by email, by EDI, ERP has been there around. ERP is also enterprise resource planning was there as well. But the real term E-procurement came up in 90s after the internet came into the market around. Here it shows you same thing. Obviously, you had in the beginning mobile phones, you had the fax machine, you had the EDI, which I told you, electronic data interchange. Some companies are still using on the virtual private network. Electronic catalog became very popular. Again, E-Catalogues, E-Procurements. But the future is again important around. Where are we moving? So with this word E is moving much faster around to make our life much easier. So again, additional E I will explain around what is the future part of it. If you look at your procurement, some of you are thinking procurement is simple buying. So if you look at the one circle on the right side, the buying, you are identifying the needs, create the requisitions, route the approvals, create the POs, receive this payment. To me, that is P2P, procurement to payment. So in short, this buying is a very smaller version of the bigger picture. If you're doing P2P, procurement to purchasing, that's a buying function. To me, it is a very tactical function, very operational function. And this tactical function, even if you bring e-procurement, except you're automating some of the process, but will not generate enough benefits for you. But if you see the other side on the left side, the sourcing part, sourcing to me is a strategic function. Sourcing is the one which brings you strategic thinking around, helps you to improve the profile of procurement upward. So in the sourcing part, what comes around is you think around, guys, okay, what did I spend last time? How was my demand around? Which category I'm spending more around? Define the strategies around. Qualify the suppliers well in advance. Negotiate the contract around where the BAFO stands for best and final offer, and manage the contract. And this has got a component like e-tendering, e-auctions, while the other part, the buying part, has e-purchasing part. I'm calling that e-purchasing, which we may call P2P, while when I say procurement, the procurement has become, as I said in one of the earlier sessions also, purchasing to me is just buying, just acquiring. Acquisition is purchasing. But the moment you make it strategic, it becomes procurement. From procurement, it has gone to what we call as supply management. From supply management, it has gone to supply chain management. The whole thing is evolving. So if you look at the buying side, we have P cards, purchasing cards. We have P2P concepts around. But the moment you make the function very strategic, you have e-tendering, you have e-auctions. The whole bigger picture is, to me, is e-procurement. So e-procurement is a bigger things. It is covering to a lot extent end-to-end. So it is covering one side your demand, one side your supply. It's balancing the two. So if I'm balancing the two, the demand and supply, that's how I'm getting into the e-procurement system. Now let me again explain the e-sourcing. I will explain a little bit. Now e-sourcing, the one you saw in the two circles around. So e-sourcing is a part of researching, negotiating commercial agreements with suppliers online. Normally when I see around e-sourcing, has got two areas around. One is online auctions and one is you may call e-tendering. So when we talk of e-tendering, it has got RFQ, RFI, RFP, ITB, different tools are there around. I didn't put ITB because ITB is more from the public sector. From the private sectors, they're all RFQ and RFI. So one is request for quotation and one for request for information, where you want to get the knowledge, get the information, then you try to do the analytical part. Online auction is there. That's the next part. I think I'll explain a little bit much more on this. Online auction could be forward auction and reverse auction. A reverse auction, there are many modalities around. The Dutch auctions, Japanese reverse auctions, UK reverse auction, but anyway, I'll try to explain in a very generic way. So reverse auction is a process through which the bidders participate in an auction online. I'm sure you know very well the selling part, the forward auction is the selling part. You might have seen in your day-to-day life when people auction something to sell, is the reverse of that. Here what we do is around the bidders can participate simultaneously. The buyer is fixing the specs. The buyer is saying, okay, here are the commercial terms. Buyer is saying, okay, this is the price below which the bidders have to quote. So they put a benchmark price. So bidder starts at a free fixed time, they start bidding it. So I can see the price, what is the lowest one. I won't know who is the bidder, but I can see the price where it has gone down. Let's say it started with $10,000, now it has gone to $9,000. If I want to get that business, I'll say, okay, I'll make it $8,500. And if nobody goes below that, then I get the business around. So this has made the life much easier. Even the World Bank is trying to put reverse auction as a part of procurement process in the public sector as well. Private sector certainly is using in a big way. The government of India has experimented recently for the coal mines very successfully. So this concept is becoming very popular in India, and in the Western country this is used very oftenly, even for buying services. Anything you can make as a commodity, anything you can define the requirements very clearly, reverse auction works very well. So now we can see the e-procurement, what I'm saying around is a combination of sourcing, buying. So the last term, if you look around e-procurement, so e-procurement is a collective terms. It is not only P2P. I would call from S to P, sourcing to payment. So one side is sourcing, S, other side is the payment. So it's a complete terms around, and I could even expand it, going end to end. People are now even talking about putting e-invoicing, e-payment also built into e-procurement. That's the technology canvas. So here you can see the same two circles, one the buying side, which is mentioned very clearly, transaction cycle. Other is the strategic cycle. If the role of the procurement has to go up to the board level, they have to become more strategic. If they are remaining struggling with only day-to-day reactive function, they will remain transaction and operational function. Any function which is operational cannot go in the profile of the organization. If they have to go up in the profile of the organization, they have to become strategic. So e-procurement, as we discussed around earlier, is a tool. It uses the concept of e-commerce to enable procurement activities. Now procurement activities are sourcing, ordering, commissioning, receipting, making payments. All those activities have been used by the E word. So this is where it stands around. As I said in the beginning, these have been in the past also, either in a shared form or a software tools, standalone system was there around. ERP has been there around. Many of you are using ERP. Some people are coming with e-procurements and they're hooking up e-procurement with ERP. So they use ERP for payment purposes, but e-procurement is there as well. Same thing. So automating the entire chain starts from select to the payment part. So I hope by now you understand the various terms around e-business, e-commerce, e-procurements. Now the question comes, how e-procurement, the growth part, what has contributed to the growth of e-procurement? To me, I look at two things around which has contributed. One is the globalizations. In the good old days, we were all buying locally. So it was not very important. Now the suppliers are spread worldwide. When the suppliers are spread worldwide, I need a tool to connect. I need a tool to transfer my request. I need a tool to get my offers around. So that's where the globalization has come. And on top of it, we have the tools. The technology has come up around. So technology and globalization both put together has given the growth to the e-commerce and has become the extended value chain around. So now question comes, is giving a next wonderful value chain. So why should I invest in e-procurement? Obviously, when you have to make it, those of you who are not using e-procurement, And if they have to give a proposal to their management, they have to understand why invest in e-procurement. As you know, in today's world, and I'm sure you're all aware of the terms, it is not the companies are competing. It is the supply chain competing. Because if you look at your sales revenue, procurement or supply chain management is around 70% of the sales revenue. If two companies have to compete well, the savings have to come from procurement. Any changes, any saving in procurement hits the bottom line, straight to the profit. Even if I increase my sales by 30%, a lot of overheads are there around. So what it hits, by the time it hits to the bottom line, it may be 4 or 5%, depending on company to company. But if any savings I bring into procurement, it straight goes to the bottom line. Now let me put this way also. Another good thing in this one is indirect spend. All companies. One is the direct spend. Direct spending, which is going directly into the business. And second is indirect spend. And so indirect spend also, like travel. So many of the things around are in the part of the indirect spend around. So those indirect spend as well are able to be, we can control it. Otherwise you have a company with 20 branches around, everybody is doing indirect spending. You have no control on that. But the moment you have an e-procurement, you are able to control the whole expense. It has technical benefits, strategic benefits, managerial benefits. I'll go into more detail further on this. Now the first is the transactional benefit, which everybody gets. Obviously your production time, the process time has been cut down. As you saw in the manual process, we have 17 steps. I can cut down those processes. So reduction in price. So that's a transaction benefit. The transaction benefit in the country which are low cost country may not be that high, maybe 2%, 3%. Then the question comes, if I'm putting so much money around to get e-procurement, am I getting a return on investment? The second benefit we get is the compliance benefit. So the compliance benefit is what we call as a maverick spend reduction. So sometimes people are buying, particularly those organizations which are spread over, which are not at a one place, procurement is not centralized. Everybody is buying from wherever they want. Instead of using the common platform or common prices which have been negotiated with the central procurement, and if each one is buying separately, they might be paying more. That's what we call as a maverick spend and reduction. That we cut down the reduction. Because everybody knows we have a long-term arrangement here. We have a rate contract here. Can we go straight with this? Some people call it a call-off contract also. The next one is the management information benefits. Obviously, the quality of data improves. Less errors around because done with the e-procurement, some of the information is already automated. Less of data increase. Price benefit means because if my unit as a city is spread over, I can aggregate the requirements. If I'm able to aggregate the requirements, and that is only possible with e-procurement, in a manual procurement difficult. So with aggregations, I get a better sourcing around. And that's what we call as strategic sourcing. Payments, obviously I can do efficiently. Cash flow, the number of people which are required in the finance are less. Earlier they used to look at the hard files. Now those who have e-procurement and ERPs, they know very well I have a PO, I have inspection documents online, I have an invoice online. If all three matches with the press of a button, the payment goes. So it has made the life much easier there also. Now advantages, again, expanding same thing further. First thing is improve the process efficiency, reduction in errors, which is very true, better compliance because you have to follow the guidelines. If you're placing order, the computer system will stop you that there is a long-term arrangement for this, you can't place an order. Enhanced leverage, you are able to compile, you are able to aggregate the requirements, improve sourcing. So improved sourcing means you're able to get the best deals for it. Now let's understand the connectivity model which has been in the past and some which are coming now. You have the buyer side, you have the supplier side. I've tried to show you first on the top EDI, which is still very few companies are using who have their own virtual network. Many suppliers, many buyers, they use virtual private network, you have electronic data interchange. You are able to transfer your data in terms of purchase orders, in terms of invoices from one end to another. Another one is website to website. You go down to the supplier website. So website has all the data around. You say, okay, I go to the Flipkart, I go to Snapdeal, we try to pull the items around, and then it's okay, this is the item I want to buy. So website to website, there's a connections around, but one to many and one to many. So this is the many choices available around. So same thing again I'm putting up in a different format, promoting the concept catalog. Keep in mind the major benefits of the e-procurement come from catalogs. So the catalogs could be with the suppliers. If you're buying some office supplies, the guy who's supplying your office to your supplier has got the catalog. You go into the catalog and buy it. Makes life much easier. Same thing what you do on Amazon.com. So you need a catalog now. Either you build your own catalog or you have suppliers. Those who are your approved suppliers, they have to have the catalog. So you have one side end users, you have suppliers, and then you have got a catalog. The catalog could be aggregated catalog could be individual from each supplier, and purchasing. So you somebody's end users, they go online, they select the items, check the price, check availability, submit the requisition. The moment they submit the requisition, goes to purchasing department, whose job is to approve the requisitions, place orders, manage consolidation, and analyze purchasing. You can imagine in this process, the procurement part is becoming very strategic. They're able to spend some time on analyzing the data itself. Now when we talk of e-catalogues, so e-catalog is a must, I would say. If you want to get the full benefits of e-procurement, you need to have e-catalog. Many of your items must be standard. You're buying on a yearly basis. Repeat items. If you're buying a repeat items, you need to build up the catalog. Either you build it or ask the supplier, depending on your volumes, that they have to put up the catalog for that. And those catalogs are punched out with your system. Either they give you the static files, like the last bullet you can see, either they can give you the static files, or they have to have a punch out, or marketplace. So there are marketplaces which have the catalogs, which have negotiated prices around, you can use them as well. Now when it comes to building the business case, that's very crucial. So far we have understood what is e-procurement, what is e-commerce, how it has evolved over the years around. We have understood the terminology of e-procurement. We talked about the catalogs. Now after getting that picture around, the next comes the building case. How do I build a case to my management? That they are going to ask me return on investment part. So this is where you have to work it out, the benefits. As we are seeing, what are the benefits around. But you need to quantify. That factor you have to keep in mind. So that's the way around. These are the top of the e-procurement tools which you're using around EDI, ERP, Internet, electronic means, web-enabled EDI, and worldwide web SEO. These are a broad range of tools which I'm sure many of you are conversant. The major challenge which comes is security and data sharing. So security is a major part around it. Security of the information which is being passed on to the supplier. Security of the data which has come to you. Supplier has given the e-bidding to you, e-tendering to you. All the tenders have come to you. All the offers have come to you. You don't want that offers to be seen by anybody before the due date. So there has to be security for that. So all the security of the data in transition, the data in storage, everything needs a security around it. So that's the way a lot of research has been done around, a lot of good tools have come up around So I won't say it's a big worry around now, except it costs money. Security breaches could be, as I said to you, data as source. So at the source part, you have to give a digital certificate. If every supplier goes to your system, sending e-tenders around, e-offers around, you need to give them a digital certificate. Who can do it? There could be a guy who has left the company and trying to mess up the whole information. The guy doesn't work with them, but has the passwords around with them. There's a lot of authentication required of digital certificates. Then we have digital certificate policies, data in transit, the data which is being transferred. It has to be 128-bit encryptions around, not 64. Data at rest, the data which is lying with you also need to have a firewall around. It has to be encrypted, it has to have a firewall. So security part becomes very crucial. So in case you are in the process of buying, do ask your suppliers how the security part will be dealt with. Now in this e-procurement, there are many parts of this. One is electronic tendering system, e-tendering. The impact is process improvement and efficiency. There's another part called dynamic pricing engine. This is very crucial for those of you who are planning to use reverse auction. If you're planning to use reverse auction, the system must have dynamic pricing engine because the price is changing every minute. Everybody is quoting a price. It can't be static. So hundreds of suppliers are bidding on, they're putting online. So everybody is quoting the price. The system must have dynamic pricing engine. If 2 minutes back I quoted X price, then after 2 minutes I quote different price, the dynamic pricing engine has to be there. The next comes the catalog part. Catalog is very, very important again. Supply management is there important around. So you can see the priority which I'm putting up around is, if you're planning a reverse auction, which is becoming a very popular now in the public sector and the private sector, I'll say the priority and deployment is number one. Number two is obviously the e-tendering part has to be number two. E-procurement has no meaning if you don't have that. Catalogs are equally important around, and supply management is managing the whole supply management, the relationship with suppliers, contract management, all are part of this around. So we really need to have in the e-procurement those two aspects. So don't get biased. Somebody comes to you, okay, I'm giving you e-procurement offers around very low price. So what does it cover? Does it cover e-tendering? Does it cover the dynamic pricing engine? Does it cover the catalog management? Does it cover supply management? So one needs to really understand what e-procurement is focused on. And I try to give my priorities, but you can change the priority depending on which environment you work on. This is the EDI, which is, again is, I would say, outdated for many of the today's companies. And for some companies whose volume is much bigger, they don't want any information to be hacked up. They have their own virtual private network. They have their own servers around. This is the one again when we're talking of e-procurement, which could be B2B. It could be B2G, business to business, business to government, government to business, G2B also could be there. It could also be B2C. So many choices are available. Now, another thing which has come up around is ASP has come up around. Very popular concept. Third party application service provider. Traditionally, what we have been having around is, okay, I want to go for e-procurement. Or it's going to cost me $15 million or $10 million, and it's too costly for me. Now people say, guys, no. I will not build my own infrastructures. I will have some third party who provide me the application service provider. So I use that application service provider and I pay more like a renting. Instead of owning a house or owning an infrastructure, you use someone else and you pay for the time you use it. So this is the one application service provider which has one side communication with via internet with a supplier, other side is a buyer. So it hooks up, provides support to all of you. All the catalog you can see in the center, they're shown around, they're stored there. So again, I'm putting a summary in this one around what separates a winner and loser In e-procurement, an extent to which e-procurement system or strategy used enables trading partners to effectively collaborate and share it. To what extent we are sharing information between the buyer and seller. If you're keeping them at arm's length, you are using the technologies, but you're not sharing information at the right time, the benefits will not be very effective, I would say. Here's the concept of catalogs around. Suppliers, you've got, let's say, shown on the left side, 3 suppliers. Each supplier has their own catalog. So buyer goes into each one, pulls the items, picks the items, buy. I've got aggregated catalog, that's another concept. So basically, all catalogs are built with me, I have controlling it, and then I go to each supplier. There's another concept coming around exchange, very popular in the automobile business. It's there in the US, now automobile companies in India also trying to build up exchange. Let's say there are 10 automobile companies. All of them are buying some items which are common, like brakes, filters, radiators, and all of them are buying from few OEMs. So there could be an exchange. Who tries to negotiate the prices on behalf of all the buyers, and buyer uses the exchange process. You might have 10 hospitals in X city or Y city. All hospitals are buying same items around. Then there is someone who builds up an exchange. He says, guys, you can use me. I've got the best deal for all of you. So instead of each hospital going to X and Y supplier, they go to one exchange who has negotiated the prices on behalf of all the hospitals. So that's the way we call it. It could be horizontal exchange. It could be vertical exchange, depending on are you belonging to the vertical sector same way, or you belonging from other groups around. Horizontal means it could be different companies, different backgrounds, but have common items around. All of them use bearings. But the vertically means all of them are in the same business. All of them in the hospital health sector. All of them in the automobile sector. There could be an exchange for that. I think I want to walk through this with you, where to use e-source, where to use e-auctions. So that is very important around e-procurement tools are there. I hope all of you are conversant with this 2x2 matrix. Very important around, set up in 1983 or something by PDPP. He split the whole thing into 2x2 matrix. You can see there are 4 boxes around. On the left side, on the horizontal axis, expenditures. Y-axis is all about impact and the risk around. So how much is the impact on the profit? How much is the impact on the risk part around? Obviously, if I've got more suppliers, my risk is very low. It could be close to N. If my number of suppliers are less and less, and it's very limited, only one supplier, my risk is very high. If that supplier doesn't care for me, doesn't deliver to me, my supply chain can come to an end, stop. So here we have tried to show 4 groups around routine items, leverage items, critical items, and bottlenecks. When we talk of routine means they either belongs to 80% of the values, items, but value-wise they are only 20%, low values. Risk is also low. So to me, routine means, in a relaxed fashion, I know even if it is last minute I have to buy, I will buy. The leverage means it is I'm spending a very high figure, 20% of the item, 80% of the values, very high values, as well as, but the risk is low. There are many supply sources. In those situations, I want to really squeeze out the major savings from there. Then you see the critical one. Critical means high values, but risk is also very high. In those situations, the critical item, I have to build up a different partnership. My methodology of dealing with supply has to be totally different. And then we have bottlenecks. So the bottleneck means those are very crucial items. It may be nut and bolt, specialized nut and bolt, made of special materials. And if I don't have that, my assembly line can come to an end. Unless low values, but the risk is very high. So once you've understood this, let me walk to you in the next one. So now here we see around the routine items,
It's a routine purchases. And this is leverage is the one good in an e-catalog. But the fixed price, the problem in the e-catalog is also there. There's a fixed price, you fix it. And leverage, the prices are changing very fast. You want to take the benefit of that. So critical certainly is new suppliers, e-catalog will not help you. Same way for the bottleneck also, e-catalogs are not going to be suitable. So e-catalogs are very useful for the routine items. So my request to you is try to identify based on your spend analysis, what are your routine items? And for those routine items, you could have e-catalog. Then we're talking of e-sourcing and e-auctions around. Now e-auction is again very, very suitable on the leverage side. On the leverage side is a commodity-like things. So this is the where I would like to use the e-auctions, not for the low values. So technically, if I have to see around, so if I have to see the e-auctions part, the leverage is a very good areas around where I can use it. E-sourcing part, e-sourcing means I'm talking RFX, could be RFP, could be RFP, could be RFI, RFQ, all the things. Routine items, again, it's a low values, low risk. I could do different ways around. The leverage, again, in the leverage, this may not work. So the critical areas, certainly I can use RFX. On the bottleneck areas also I can use the RFX around. Keep that in mind. Now keep this in mind, the implementation requires attention. At the outset of the initiative, when you're trying to introduce it, and when the e-procurement system is running. So what do we do with that? Now the key elements of e-procurement. Now communication and change management. Change is very important around. You know, people have a mindset. If you try to bring a new concepts around, people will always find fault with it. So people have to be trained. People have to be given awareness. The system should be very intuitive. The system should be very friendly. So people's mindset, people have to be trained. So that's very important on the change management part. The performance management. You might have given to the finance or the top management people, spend money of so much on e-procurement, our performance will improve. The performance will not improve until you're measuring it. If you don't measure the performance, how much changes have been brought in terms of process time, in terms of values, system is not going to change much. The last thing is impact on the purchasing department. Has it improved the performance, the efficiency of purchasing department? Our procurement department is still struggling around, day in and day out. And you know, many times it's a thankless job. So if you're not able to make it very strategic, you'll be always failing in X and Y items. Now the question comes, should I build my own system or buy my own system? This is where I was talking around the same story, like at home you will say, should I buy the car or should I rent it? If somebody can rent me a car at a cheaper price, much lower than the cost which costs me and is available at the tip of a call, the moment I make a call, like you see nowadays in the mobile phone, there are apps available, you press the button, the taxi is at your home within 5 minutes. If that's the approach available to me, should I buy at there? That's what we're going to walk through. The models which are available is obviously licensing model, which is very traditional. So people will say, let me take a license for this. Nobody gives you ownership in the software business. So software business, if you're taking with Oracle, SAP, you never become the owner, even after customization. It's a license. And these licenses also goes on changing. Every year you have to pay the fees for them. Upgradation also goes on every 2 years. Then the first one, as I mentioned, around application service providers around hosted model. Somebody is hosting for you. You don't worry about it. You don't need IT people around. Somebody does for you. Somebody say, okay, you do it in the beginning and then transfer the technology to it. It's again a hybrid system. Now even people are talking of the cloud. See, if you look around Hundreds of companies are going with ERP. Some are going with e-procurement. If everybody is going to build up their own infrastructure means a lot of servers, a lot of IT people, data centers, managing them, it may not be cost effective. Somebody says, guys, I will set up the cloud for you. You don't need to worry around it. I have my servers, hundreds of servers and somewhere in the bush itself. All your information is going through internet there. I have the software, whichever you want, I can provide you. So for your concern, you're only focusing on the business side, application side. And I manage the technical part, the IT part, I manage it. That's where the cloud is moving. Same cloud computing or e-procurement, you can see the 4 applications around. In the very first left one, you manage everything. Networking, storage, servers, operating systems, middleware, runtime, data application. All applications. You want e-sourcing, you want this, you want e-payment, e-invoicing, all applications you are maintaining. When you go to the other extreme side, we call them as a SaaS, software as a service provider, SaaS, where everything is managed by somebody. You are only paying them the lease price or whatever the renting price, that's all. As I said to you, either you are owning a car, you manage everything, starting from maintenance, and the last one is that you say, guys, I only lease it when I lease it out, or I rent it when I lease it out. So that's the concept which is coming. So e-procurement also, whether you're using your own e-procurement, you can go through the cloud concept. Now here I want to give you some idea about the cost element you must keep in mind. Don't get fooled by just the license cost. Licensing is only 10% of the total cost. But when you want to implement it, you need a cross-function sourcing team. So the cross-function sourcing team from different functions, because it's not affecting only procurement, it's affecting the whole chain. You need a cross-function sourcing team. Maintenance also every year you need around an annual basis, which is 15 to 20% of the cost. Cost of creating and updating the content of the catalog around. Connecting to suppliers around. Upgrading the tech strategies as well, because every 2 years new tools are coming around. You find that your own project has become a dinosaur. Within 5 years, any IT software around becomes a dinosaur. New things are coming around. So you need to upgrade your things around. Now then you have to, suppose you say, okay guys, I just want to get e-procurement without payment link. So the payment I have to link up with ERP for account payable. Obviously when you're going with the new technologies, you need to reorganize your structure as well. You can't carry on with the same skill sets. You need different skill sets, different people, different backgrounds. So you need to reorganize it. Training of the people around is a big cost. Process design, customizations. This is a major component. So when you're going for e-procurement, you're not just going for keeping your own old process around. If you've got an inefficient process and you're going for e-procurement and the guy is going to customize all your inefficient process, I think I'm draining out that funds around. And this is a major chunk. You have to, business process has to be re-engineered. And then you have to see, okay, can I use the standard systems around? But this costs enormously 40% of the cost of the whole project. So don't just go with the license fee. It will be very small. There are other costs which goes into it. Then when this e-procurement has to work, it has to be compatible with your existing system. And then you find your existing softwares are not compatible. Project management. You need somebody who has to manage the project. The high cost, high impact, you want a high visibility, you need a good project manager. Now here again I'm trying to put up the practical case of my experience around whenever you go with e-procurement. Think big. Don't think of e-procurement in a very, you may implement in a small way, but think bigger way, what exactly you want to achieve. Are you looking end to end? Start small, manage tightly, you have to manage it very tightly. Some people are done with the big bang. So when you do build a big bang, it costs you enormous, and if it fails, you have to pay the price for that. And scale up fast. Some people will start with a small, and the confidence the moment you get it, then you scale up. So keep in mind, it is not about technology. The real lessons are the soft issues. The soft issue being the people. At the end of the day, they are the people who are going to use it. It is simple. Technology is not going to revolutionize until people are changed. People mindset is changed. So training of the people, change management, briefing them, taking them into the confidence is very important. Now e-procurement will challenge the attitude of the people around, the way they work around. The key to success is to motivate them and support the right people. Business process re-engineering, as I told you, is very important. Don't carry on your inefficient processes into e-procurement. Here it shows a little bit another aspect. Some organizations, they put the money around. Oh, it's a year end, I got left over so many funds, let me put it in. But are they having a commitment to this? So the level of e-procurement commitment on the y-axis and level of interaction on the x-axis. The level of interaction is with suppliers. I put up the e-procurement tool. If my interaction with supplier is very less, commitment from the top management is very less, you're trying to do just for the purpose of compliance relationship, to me the superficial adoption of e-procurement. It may not come up with a good benefits enough. Now if I say, okay, I'm having a good relationship with supplier as well, I'm sharing every information with my supplier, it may get some benefits around, but the real benefits comes when your commitment is very high, relationship is very high, so that's what we call a partnership relationship. So you have to be sure there has to be serious commitment from the leader. You have to ensure a good relationship, good interaction with suppliers. It's a combination of two. So in summary, we can say e-procurement has a significant role to play in the future of procurement and its advancement. It should not be seen as a cost cutter. I know some people just they look for the cost cutter. To me, it is but as a strategic function. We are trying to cut down the routine work and trying to make it more strategic. So keep in mind, you need e-tendering, you need e-auctions, you also need P-cards. So those are the tools that have to be built into it to make it more strategic. And again, even if someone is sitting very relaxing, okay guys, time will tell me when I will do it. But keep in mind, companies don't have much longer life. Companies survive based on competitiveness. And the competitiveness is coming through supply chain. Since supply chain is covering 70% of the cost, so the whole competitiveness comes from there. I will call e-procurement bandwagon is rolling. So the question is that all business must ask, should I jump on it or be more under the screen now? So this is where, again, the journey goes on, my friend. It's not over. So let's move on. And with this, I want to thank you all for your patient hearing. So I want to hear some questions from you. You can raise your hand or you can chat and I will be happy to answer. Thank you, everyone. If still you have any questions, please do send us some messages.